I would love for everyone just to be free and not be bound by their vices, because let me tell you guys, it is the most euphoric, breathtaking, rejuvenating feeling to not be attached to anything outside of you. Warriors of Light, what's crackin'? Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to the Empyrean Alchemy channel. It's taken me a little bit to make this video just because I had everything kind of layered out by points. I had everything in chronological order, but then I was like, you know what? Let me just do this straight from the heart. Let me just do this off the cuff, because that way it's going to be more real. And just a quick disclaimer, I don't have anything against cannabis. I don't have anything against anybody who smokes weed, because that would make me a giant hypocrite. This is just my journey. This is just my experience. This is what I went through, and hopefully telling my story will help somebody who could be struggling with the same thing. So let's just hop right into it. I began smoking weed when I was a teenager. The first time I tried it, I was 14 or 15 years old. I think I had just turned 15 actually, and I didn't like it at first. I did keep trying though, and eventually I finally did get high, because the first couple times did not work so well for me. But I did not actually actively start smoking until I was about 17 years old, and then it became a regular thing. So I started kind of early on, I would say, while my brain was still developing. So those crucial years of neurological development is when I did start smoking weed. And I never saw it as a form of escapism. You know, when you're a teenager, it's just like something you do for fun, something you do with friends. And as I got older, I realized how many people did actually smoke. So it was more so a social thing for me. I didn't really like smoking alone. Eventually, I did, however, start smoking weed by myself, and I liked it either way. I liked getting high with friends, and I liked getting high on my own. Maybe I liked it a little bit too much. So, you know, weed was one of these things that helped raise my vibration. It helped raise my sensitivity, helped raise my creativity, helped me become more mindful, more aware, things going on in my body, things going on around me. Just overall made me feel really good. But as this video goes on, you will notice that things, I wouldn't say took a turn for the worst, but I didn't get the same effect as I used to when I was younger. So continuing on, I kept smoking through my early 20s, and there were points in my life where I stopped. When I was in college, I would stop for about a month to 2 months anytime I would start a new semester of school, just because I wanted to get my head in the game and I wanted to focus more on schoolwork and reading and things of that nature. But of course, I did pick back up again and start again. It was a pretty regular thing. You know, I was smoking almost every day. It was something that I considered to be part of my identity. I had a pretty strong emotional attachment to weed just because I did start when I was younger, and it kind of became a part of me. It became something that was a regular habit of mine. Therefore, I associated myself a lot with it. And so as the years went on, I started smoking more and more. My tolerance really never got that high. I don't actually remember myself smoking a ton of weed. It was something I was doing regularly, but it wasn't something that I would say I was indulging in. Like, I really didn't like doing it more than 1 or 2 times a day, because I felt like there was no point. So even with my, I would say, regular consumption, I still wasn't overdoing it. Now, when I was about 23, 24, 25, I made it an everyday thing. I started making it an everyday thing, and it became a actual huge integral part of my life, because it was one of those things that, you know, when you do it for long enough, it just is your normal at that point. Weed became my norm. It was my norm to do stuff high, and I could do everything high. I would go to work high. I would spend time with friends high. I would go out and socialize while I was high. I would do my chores while I was high. I would eat while I was high. So I could do everything high. And eventually, it began to lose its benefit. Like everybody else who smokes weed on the regular, what do you hear people say when you ask them, why do you smoke? Oh, I do it because of my anxiety. Oh, I do it because I don't have an appetite. I do it because I have trouble sleeping. I do it for pain. And myself, personally, I would use those excuses whenever somebody asked me why I smoke. Why do you smoke? Oh, I have back pain. It helps me with my back pain. Why do you smoke? Oh, it helps me be more social. It helps me connect with people more. So really, I was just justifying my behavior. And we'll dive a little bit more into that a little later on in this video. So in justifying my behavior and in doing it every day, it became a huge part of my life. There's something called the law of diminishing returns. This is something that is a phenomena in pretty much everything you see. The law of diminishing returns states that something can only be so good for you for so long. So eventually you do begin to plateau, whatever it may be. For example, something like training. Whenever you're training, you get a lot of benefit out of it, right? You get the hormone balancing effects, you get weight loss effects, you get muscle building effects. But if you begin to overtrain, train too often, not allow yourself time for recovery, you begin to plateau, right? And then once you plateau, if you keep pushing yourself further and not allowing your nervous system to recover, not allowing yourself to sleep and actually build the muscle that you're training for, it begins to actually be a detriment and you begin to get harm from it. And this law of diminishing returns applies across the board to pretty much everything. And I had gotten to that point with weed. I got to the point with weed to where it was just bringing me to my baseline, right? If I was not motivated to, say, clean my room or clean out my car, do homework, do work on my business, go to work, any of those things that I should already be okay doing, I was using weed to kind of help me get motivated for those things. So that was already bad. Eventually, and part of the reason why I decided to stop is that it was not even getting me to my baseline anymore. Whenever you're smoking every day, whenever you're used to being high and that becomes your norm, and you're smoking to get to a baseline level of, say, motivation or a baseline level of just a good mood in general, whenever you're not high, it's not it's not that happy of an existence. So whenever people would say that, oh, I smoke weed because I'm anxious, they're most likely chronic smokers. And I think that if they were to stop smoking weed, they would be extremely anxious. And it's actually the marijuana that's making them anxious. And why do I think this? Because I experienced it myself. Whenever I would not be high, I would just not want to do anything. And my mood would be absolute shit. And I would have no drive to do anything. And a lot of it comes from the way that cannabis affects your circadian rhythm. It affects your mood. It affects your appetite. You have a cannabinoid system in your body, right? And these cannabinoids regulate a lot. They regulate down to your body temperature and down to your sleep cycle. So constantly getting exogenous cannabinoids from weed day in and day out, your receptors begin to burn out. And this is exactly what was happening to me. As I got older, I got to a point to where the law of diminishing returns really kicked in, and weed was actually making things worse for me. So when I was younger, weed would make me happy. It'd make me silly and goofy and giggle. And it'd make me want to go out and try stuff. It'd make me want to do art. It'd make me want to go running and make music and do all these sorts of awesome things. And then as I got older, eventually weed became a thing that was limiting me from doing these things. It was really freaking weird. Where before I would smoke because I wanted to be creative, and then I was smoking and I just became lazy and not creative and just shut myself out from the world. And I began to notice this. I began to notice how much this was actually affecting my everyday life. It got to the point where I was actually planning my days around weed. That's right. I would think about weed all day, get home, smoke just to feel better. So I would do the things that I needed to do, important things for work, things for other people, chores, running errands, things of that nature. I would get all those things out the way first, just so I could smoke weed in the evening. And this was a thing that was happening day in and day out. And so once you begin to live the same day in and day out, life begins to become a fog. Life begins to get really blurry, and you can't tell one day apart from another. You don't remember what you said to who. You don't remember what you did on which day. So you begin to create this weird bubble of brain fog, and you live in this bubble of brain fog, not really looking forward to anything besides getting high. And this is me being 100% transparent with you guys. Again, I'm not saying that this is everyone's experience. I'm not saying that this is going to happen to everybody who smokes weed. I'm not saying that that this is a for sure type of thing, but this is what I noticed with my experience. And it was really weird to me because I had been smoking weed since I was a teenager. It was going on 10 years that I'd been smoking, and it was not benefiting me anymore. Anyways, so I was looking forward to smoking weed, and it was a regular thing. I was doing it every day. I was thinking about weed all the time. At this point, it began to affect me in a way that was really unhealthy. It began to affect my relationships with people. It began to affect my cognition. It began to affect my business. It began to affect my art, my creativity, making content. And there was a day, I don't know which day it was, but I had this feeling that I was like, there's going to come a day to where I don't smoke weed anymore. Completely stop. No more weed. And it wasn't something I was upset about. It wasn't something that made me distraught. It wasn't anything that was really detrimental to me. I just knew that it was going to happen because I noticed how much it wasn't serving me anymore. It just wasn't serving me. So this year, in May, before my birthday, I was like, after my birthday, I'm done. Done completely. Cold turkey, no more weed. No more edibles, no vaping, no extracts, none of that stuff. And sure enough, after my birthday, I stopped. And it's been a whole 6 months. I guess it's time to transition. I want to transition into talking about the side effects, because people say that there's no side effects. I beg to differ, and I think the research shows that there are side effects, especially if you've been smoking as long as I was, going on actually more than 10 years. So the biggest physical side effects I've noticed was within the first 3 days of stopping, I had crazy headaches. Like, these headaches would just not go away for hours. I would get waves of them. Sometimes they'd last for a couple hours on end. And I was getting nauseous. I was getting nauseous in the mornings. I had no appetite. I had to force myself to eat. And this lasted a good 3-4 days. Headaches, nausea, not wanting to eat. Continuing on, the first 2 to 3 weeks, my sleep was so sporadic. It was not good sleep. We have research now showing how much marijuana actually affects your REM cycles. So it was harder for me to sleep throughout the night, and my dreams were incredibly vivid. I could actually remember my dreams, because when I would go to sleep high, I couldn't remember my dreams. Sometimes I wouldn't dream at all, and I was going to sleep high pretty much every night. So it was a while that I didn't dream and didn't see dreams. And as soon as I stopped, those first 2-3 weeks, my dreams were crazy vivid, and the sleep I got was not long. I couldn't sleep for long. I was sleeping for like 4-5 hours at a time. And eventually it leveled out. Eventually it balanced me out. Eventually I got balanced out by being sober. And it totally makes sense, because marijuana does affect your REM cycle. It's gonna mess with your circadian rhythm. So even though I was sleeping shorter intervals, I was actually getting deeper sleep. Whenever you go to sleep high, you actually don't get into the deepest stage of sleep, which is why a lot of people don't dream. So again, totally my personal experience. So after about a month, I was feeling more balanced. Oh, and within that first week, I was sweating a lot. Cannabinoids regulate your body temperature, so I was just sweating for no reason. Like, literally, I would just be here sitting and I'd be sweating. And it was really, really off-putting sometimes. Continuing on. So about a month through, I noticed a sense of mental clarity. I noticed my memory getting better. I noticed my wits about me getting better. I was more quick. I was more clever. I was able to just be overall better in my cognition. It was a pretty significant difference. And again, I wasn't even smoking that much when I was smoking. It was just that every single day I had been high. And after 2-3 months, I really wanted to make this video, but I realized that it was not enough, because I had quit for 1 or 2 months before. But I've never gone 6 months not smoking. So, anywho, the sense of awareness is back. My sense of awareness and mindfulness and overall sensitivity to things is so much better. And guess what? Whenever you stop smoking weed, you can actually start doing right brain oriented activities again. You can actually start reading again. You can do more problem solving. You can do more logistics. Or is it left brain? I always get the two mixed up. Somebody in the comments will correct me. But the more creative, more artistic things are easier when you're high, and the things that are more mathematical, logistical problem solving are a lot harder when you're high. So it's definitely been a lot easier to do those activities because of the fact that my mind is a lot clearer. So after going through all these withdrawals, after looking at everything in retrospect, after allowing myself to free myself from this vice, I realized that all those excuses that I made were illegitimate. saying I needed to smoke for anxiety, I could have just done yoga instead. I could have just went on a walk. I could have taken some lemon balm or taken some kava kava, taken some other herbs. Whenever it comes to pain, again, there are other things that are better for treating the root cause of pain rather than treating the symptoms like I was doing. So when people say they need weed, it's absolute bullshit. It's absolute bullshit because, again, your body makes its own cannabinoids. Your body makes its own regulatory hormones. You have everything you need within you. So any excuse that you have, if you're making these excuses to the point of a justification, I would invite you to look at yourself really deeply and see why you are defending a vice so hard. And again, nothing against people who smoke weed. A lot of my friends smoke weed. I would rather people smoke weed than take pharmaceuticals or drink for that matter. But I would like anyone watching this who think that they may have a problem with this just to look at yourself and see why you might have a problem with me or somebody else not smoking weed. Because if it irks you that somebody like me who has smoked weed for over 10 years is saying that weed is not good for you in large quantities, really look at yourself and see why it irks you. Because I guarantee you that you may be experiencing the same things that I did, and it's probably triggering something within you. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that I feel very, very vulnerable doing this, and it feels really good because if anybody out there is having these same issues to where weed just doesn't do anything for you, or you feel like weed makes you lazy now and you feel unmotivated and you just aren't happy about life, then I hope that this video can help inspire you to take some steps to getting rid of a vice. Guys, whatever vice it is, it doesn't matter. It's the same attachment that you have to it. I built a lot of my identity around being that dude who just has the dankest weed. I built a lot of my identity, and I had a lot of emotional attachment to cannabis because it was a huge part of my life. But with any vice, you become a slave to it. You become a slave to it, and it begins to take control of you. Again, I was thinking about smoking when I wasn't high. That's how I knew that it's beginning to be a problem. So anyone that says there's no physical or mental withdrawals, how about you stop smoking weed and tell me if there's no physical or mental withdrawals? Because me and other people I know personally have experienced them. So I would just want everybody to be free. I would love for everyone just to be free and not be bound by their vices. Because let me tell you guys, it is the most euphoric, breathtaking, rejuvenating feeling to not be attached to anything outside of you. It feels so good. That's why I always invite people into sobriety, whatever it may be. And it doesn't even have to be a substance. Some people are addicted to gossip. Some people are addicted to social media. Some people are addicted to other things that prevent you from looking at yourself and looking at how you can improve your life. And so in conclusion, I would just like to summarize. I would like to summarize that, I smoked weed for 10 years of my life. It wasn't serving me anymore. Decided to stop completely. Would I ever smoke again? Maybe. But I plan on being sober for a long time. I'll give you guys a year update at the end of May, beginning of June, to let you know how I feel. I feel a whole ton better. I feel more aware, more laser focused on what I want to become and the person I want to be for you guys. I feel more calm and grounded without always being high. To end this video off, I'd like to say goodbye. I'd like to say goodbye to Mary Jane. You have done a lot for me. You've helped me through some tough times. You've made me the person who I am today. But it's time for us to part ways.
I will always be your friend.
Only a friend?
That's all I have to give.
Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you being on this journey with me. If anybody needs help with possibly detoxing from cannabis, if you need some tips, some advice on how to get it out your system faster so the withdrawals aren't as bad, let me know. Or if you just want some mental and emotional support, reach out to me. I got you. We're in this together. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.